What's up, Arc Junkies? Welcome to show number 245. I have two of my good buddies joining me in this episode, Mr. Bob Moffatt and Brian Logaglio. I finally made it out to Brian's advisory board meeting that we talked about in episode 241, and it just so happened that Bob was going to be there the same day to meet Brian in person for the first time. We chat a little bit about classroom management, job site antics, and a couple other topics. It was great to meet up with these two characters. We have quite a few laughs in this episode. Before we get into it, I have a couple events that I want to let you all know about that I'm planning to attend. On October 16th to the 19th, I'll be up in Cleveland, Ohio for the World Skills Welding Competition taking place at Lincoln Electric. On October 21st to the 22nd, I'll be up in Dallas, Georgia with Bob Moffatt for the Xcel Mentoring North Georgia Welding Competition. You can check out xceltoday.com for more information or to register, and I'll put that link in the show notes for you. Then on October 24th through the 28th, I'll be in Houston, Texas for the ASME Section 9 Code Clinic with Walt Sparko, which I'm really looking forward to. Walt is a legend when it comes to ASME, and I cannot wait to sit in his class and absorb all that information. ASME is an area that I'm not too familiar with, so it's going to be great to branch out and learn some new stuff related to other codes and standards. As you can see, October is going to be a busy month for me, so if you see me at any of these events, please feel free to stop by and say hi. I should have a bunch of sticker packs to pass out as well, so if you see me, just stop by and ask. We'll get right into this week's episode right after a quick word from the folks that keep the lights on in the BuzzBox Studios. The Arc Junkies Podcast is brought to you by my good friends at Rockmount Research and Alloys. These guys have the tools and filler metals to help you all get the toughest repair done right the first time every time. If you've been in the welding game long enough, you've no doubt seen common reoccurring repairs. The problem most people run into with maintenance welding is they try to use rods and wires meant for initial fabrication on clean new material in a shop environment. But that's not where most of these repairs are taking place. It's usually out in the field, in the elements, on equipment that's covered with paint, oils, grease, and other hydrocarbons. Probably the most undesirable conditions to weld in. Now you can whip out your trusty 7018 and lay down some goobers to get that piece of equipment temporarily back up and going until it breaks again, or you can grab a Brutus electrode from Rockmount that's built for this exact situation. It'll burn right over hydrocarbons and provide a weld with higher tensile strength, more elongation, and less heat input to make a repair that lasts. Check out rockmountwelding.com and see their full arsenal of products to help you tackle your toughest welding issue. And if you pick up any of their bits, burrs, or abrasives, make sure to use ArcJunkies10 at checkout and save 10% on your order. That's rockmountwelding.com. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather. Are you looking for a new hood? You want something a little bit more custom than what's on the shelf at your local supplier? Need a hood that fits your personality? Then check out my buddies at Outlaw Leather. They make badass custom hoods. If you can dream it up or sketch it out, they can put it on a hood. They also have stock hoods if you want to do your own custom work. Or maybe you want something a little bit more exotic like caiman or elephant leather. Well, they have that too. And if you're an iron worker, Outlaw makes bolt bags, scabbards, and sleever bar holders as well. And yes, they're fully customizable. Check out their work at outlawleather.com. You won't be disappointed. And while you're there, check out the other tools and accessories they have to help you out on the job like PPE, hand tools, and filler metals. And if you buy any of their stock leather goods, make sure to use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout and save 15% off. Only at outlawleather.com. All right, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
Water in that water bottle. And
That's what I do. I give a loud hey.
And that usually gets their attention.
Boom.
Yeah.
Hey!
Yeah, that was pretty good right there.
Yeah, just get a little bit more decibel to it.
I want decibel a little more.
Now, what if somebody gets really excited?
You gotta pull that mic in a little bit further there.
Get the tip next to
Just
your
the
lip.
tip, right next to the tip, right to your lips. There you go.
You've done that
A
before.
little bit closer. Yeah, you've done this before.
Yeah. What if I
Very fancy.
What if I lose one of my mags? Does that mean we're not taking off?
Lose one of your what?
Mags. You got 2 magnetos on a small plane. You don't take off without both of them working.
Well, probably not.
Okay.
So what's going on, boys?
Oh man. Hey, if you're talking to me, I had to come down here and meet this fine gentleman here, Mr. Brian Logaglio.
Yeah, you guys chat back and forth quite a bit because Bob's always like, oh, yeah, I was chatting with Brian the other day. I didn't realize today till I got here this morning that you guys had never met in person.
Never met. I just watched you two guys on YouTube, and I was fascinated with the banter, man. You guys on Weld.com were a friggin' blast for me to watch.
Well, that's the nature of me. And all of us really trades guys. I'm gonna bust your balls as soon as I see an opportunity.
As soon as like I see a slight weakness, we're gonna dig at like a chicken. You ever seen a chicken when it sees blood?
I guess not.
It just starts pecking and pecking and pecking.
That's a weird
The
analogy.
same thing. But I mean, that's how tradespeople are.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta have thick skin to get into this industry. That's one of the things. I mean, it's probably changing now, as we're making way and becoming more inclusive, which isn't always a bad thing. But I still think at the end of the day, you should be able to take a joke. You should be able to rib on each other because, like I've said it to so many people, like a lot of the times the work that we do, it sucks. I mean, you get down to it, it's sharp, hot, and heavy. You're out there, it's long hours, you're away from your family. The pay's good, so I mean, that kind of offsets it. But it's the people that you're with that make it suck less. And, part of the fun is, just giving each other shit.
Right. And if I don't give you shit,
I don't like you.
I don't like you. If I'm not
there
talking
you go.
to you.
That's right. Yeah. It means we don't like you, so you might want to be careful if not receiving a fair amount of crap during the day that something's going wrong. So
yeah, that's Bob. Bob really loved Man Cub. You could tell because
I do.
You could tell because he gave that dude shit constantly.
He picked on the old guy, and I would let him go for a while, and I'd yank his chain back.
Sure.
You gotta get his attention.
Set him up for failure.
Fun times,
It's you gotta set that trap and then pull the rope at the right time.
Yeah, it's almost like a rite of passage when you think about it, though. I mean, like just being able to have to deal with all that shit. You go into work and you get picked on, you get ridden hard and put away wet and all that stuff, and you become the brunt of some jokes, which I've been there.
Yep. And he's got all the choice verbiage here. I think he's had a lot of crap dished his way.
Oh yeah,
he must be a likable guy.
I was probably one of the most likable guys on the job site. Yeah. No, but I mean, it's because like I've been there, I've done that, and like I could always dish it back out.
Yeah.
I never took anything personal. I never got offended with anything, and I was always willing and able to dish it right back out.
Last time we were at Ink the Bay, like you started welding. And I could not stop making fun of you.
He ribbed on me the whole time. Like I'm sitting there. This is the first time I'd welded titanium. And like I'm doing it, and he's just like, like just talking mad shit. And like when we got done, he's like, "Hey man, like I'm really sorry. I mean, I kind of came off as a bit of an asshole." And I was like, "Dude, you're fine." No,
I was midway making fun of him, going, "I can't stop, Jason. I'm sorry, but it's going to go."
Like you're going to give him crap.
Yeah,
man. How did you guys?
It wasn't even a bad weld.
Anyway? How did you guys meet? I got to hear this.
Well, it's when I started, you've seen my shop. I started by myself. I had no help. So I reached out to everyone I could talk to.
This isn't a desperation story, is it?
There he was, rock bottom.
Yeah, rock bottom. Cue the sappy music. And Jason was willing to help, and then we started emailing back and forth, and he was on a YouTube channel, and that was about the time you swapped over there.
Yeah, I think I was at the school at the time we started chatting originally, and then transitioned over to Weld.com, like that period that I was there full time, and just going back and forth, kind of like here's some things you want to consider if you're setting up a shop from scratch. Here's do this, do that, don't do this. Here's some of my contacts. Make sure you get a hold of this guy. Because they're going to get you the best pricing. Call it, work with this company, don't work with this one. Just like all the stuff that I wish somebody had like shown or instructed or taught me how to do, or kind of helped me navigate the waters my first year teaching. So we got to hanging out that way, and then met first time in person at Sun and Fun, because Brian lives out here on the West Coast. I'm out there in Central Florida, and we met up at Sun and Fun, hung out for a little bit.
What, you compare bellies or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I won.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
We compared cup sizes, and then TIG cups.
Yeah.
So then
I'm out.
I had a 21.
I got nothing.
Yeah, he's got a he's a number 21 cup kind of guy. I'm like right around like number 12.
Yeah, they can't see it, so
yeah,
you can lie.
So anyway, I think we're shooting some videos over at Weld.com with our buddy the cameraman there, Todd. And I had said something. I was like, dude, you got to get this guy Brian out. He's a pipe fitter. He's local to the area. because they were wanting to do more videos and stuff. And I think that was about the time that I was slowly kind of backing out, getting back into education. And I was like, bring Brian out. He's local, we'll bring him in, kind of do some introductions. And the first time, I think we were just sitting there bullshitting, and Todd's like, yeah, we've been recording for like 7 minutes, so just keep going.
I love it.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of the stuff we were just, giving each other shit back and forth, it made it to the final cut. So we've been hanging out ever since.
I remember you guys talking about starting out teaching. I remember I was starting out nervous as a cat on a hot tin roof.
Sure.
I mean, I had these two guys that sat at the back of the room and heckled me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, crap, what did I get myself into? This is going to be brutal. They turned out to be my two strongest supporters. That's where in 1986, I'd been graduated out of that same school for 10 years. And by the way, there was whiskey behind that weld there, I think. These guys, they're giving me pipe fitters manuals and stuff, reference material and stuff, and I wrote in every one of them, this was donated by such and such. I still have them to this day, but man, I'm stepping into it. I was nervous as hell. I thought, this is a bad decision, and I've had other people get a hold of me. What do I do? What do I do getting into teaching? And I just, hey, prepare yourself. You know the material. And you'll feel for your audience. You'll get into it. You'll be okay. And call me if you don't. Just act like you're talking to me. I'll spur you out of the gate. We've done. I've done a lot of interviews, like in Atlanta. I did Samantha Farr, and I did a host of others. And my very last one was workshop with Warriors, and it was the gentleman that I think it was Mike.
Okay.
No, it wasn't Lyle. I met Lyle, but it wasn't Lyle. But I sat down with the gentleman because Lyle said, "No, you're going to do it," and he's pointing this. He said, "No, I suck on camera. I can't do it." I said, "Relax, man. Just act like you're talking to me. I'll spur you. I'll get you going."
Mm-hmm.
Best interview I think I've ever done. I'm about to cry. This was cool stuff. And when I said I saved the best for last, that's the way I felt. And
That's awesome.
It's one of those people get all locked up, when they first started teaching. And then there's others like my NDT instructor. You've seen him on YouTube, Garrett Vickery. Man, he's been there. He'd been teaching some adjunct, but he's getting ready to do his first full-blown Monty, He's up and down the hallway like a OSU football coach getting yardage. He's all over the place. And after the first week, some of my students are going, is he on drugs or something? What's his problem, man? He's just that passionate about his material, and he's a damn good instructor, and he's just wild about it. So
what I found starting off, and I don't feel like it's not such a a polarizing thing anymore, but standing in front of a group of people, even when you feel something, it's like the biggest lie detector in the world.
Oh yeah.
Like soon as they sense blood or they feel that you're wavering on what you're saying, that's when they put effort in either proving you wrong or seeing if you're right. And man, that I remember that, just making sure and checking my facts my first year before I said it. I was going to make sure I was factual.
Yeah.
And
have your resources.
Right.
And know where to find them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I might not be able to recite the page and the paragraph, but I'll tell you the book.
Yep. Yeah, I had one student that was like that. We became really good friends, and he wasn't doing it to be a dick, but he had a background in electrical engineering.
Right.
And I'm trying to explain how electricity flows in a welding circuit, and he's like, "Nope, that's wrong." And I was like, "In a welding circuit, okay, I'm not talking about like AC or hooking up a house or anything like this, but in a welding circuit, our current is going to flow from negative to positive." And, it took us a while to get around, we had to meet in the middle, but I was like, here's my facts, and this isn't my opinion. Yeah. Here's where I found the information. So just, and being open to that, being open to criticism, because there's been plenty of times I'd walk into a class and say, hey, this is how it is. And then 2 weeks later, I'd call everybody back in and be like, hey, y'all, guess what? I screwed up. I was wrong. I've now come to learn that it's actually this.
Right.
I took a big stance on qualification versus certification, because that's the way I was kind of brought up through the ranks. And then, as we know, Daryl Peterson released an entire article, that cites all the different AWS resources. That is pretty much, at the end of the day, qualification and certification are the same thing as long as it's documented correctly. And so, same thing. I had to eat crow once again, but I don't mind eating crow.
Right.
I don't mind being wrong. But
just
that's
how
something.
much salt and Tabasco to put on it, don't you?
Exactly.
Right.
But I'll always go back to the students or whoever I've given misinformation to and say, hey, I screwed up. I was wrong. Here's this. So I mean, as an educator, you can't be, like this is how it is, and it's I'm right because don't be afraid to like say, hey, I screwed up, or hey, I was wrong. Here's the the correct information.
Well, that speaks
or
to
something's
character.
changed.
Right. Well, that speaks to character because like when you guys were talking to my students, I pointed one student out yesterday because I had a conversation. Earl, that's not named Earl.
Right.
And I'm like, he asked me a question. And I'm like, I don't know the answer, Earl. Tim. And he's like, I'm like, do you want me to give you a false information? Like, I'm not going to BS you an answer.
You didn't bullshit your way through an answer?
No, man. I have a strong stance. If I don't know and I'm interested enough, I will get you an answer.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm always interested to find the answer somewhere.
There's times
I'm not going to let it go.
There's times that I will put it on them. If you want to know that, like, that's something you're asking because you're into it, tell me. I would love to hear. And anytime I hit somebody, especially my students, because I don't know what they know, I don't know where their exposure, I'm like, everything I say is open for conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Anything I say. But you better come at me with facts and have an intelligent conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about your feelings. I want to hear factual information. And I've had some great conversations with students that retained information after you walked away, and I was able to change their mind. Some of my students right now, you walk through a shop, you talk to a 15-year-old kid, and I have ex-military guys out there. I have a kid too. I have grown-ass adults that have life experience, and you gotta
bridge that gap,
right? And you got to be able to have that multiple gears for that.
Mm-hmm. Here's what I get a lot of questions. How do you set your classroom up for grading? How do you set all that up? How do you stay unbiased, fair, consistent, and everything else?
Most of my grades, employability skills.
Are what?
Employability.
Based on who? Your perspective or what?
My perspective as their employer.
Which could change according to your mood, or I'm challenging you. That's all I'm doing.
Sure. And what happens is your biggest thing is showing up and staying.
Okay.
Clocking in and out. That's
tangible.
Is it on point system?
It is on every day they get points to lose.
Right. Okay. So it's not based on your opinion, whatever.
No,
so you could put it in a rubric, and it wouldn't matter if you were here or if I were here.
Right. I have a rubric for it.
Well, then it's not based on your.
It's a speech sheet, but there's a couple parts in that rubric that we'll say, behavior and participation. So if I have a safety issue, I can hit you with
points off automatic.
Right. I can hit you under behavior, unsafe behavior, and now your points. Yeah. Now it is rubric based. You got points every day to lose. You're awarded them automatically. But
participation points up front.
Yeah. But if you don't show up, you get nothing.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 5 minutes late and you have a flat tire. The world I grew up in and the world that they're trying to go into, you had to have enough time to change your tire. Now I am not heartless, but I know the industry going into. There's times that you can.
You don't do a tardy on that one? They did show up, but they're 5 minutes late. You don't do a tardy? And point reduction? You just give them a flat-out zero?
Zero.
Well, you are a heartless bastard.
A little bit.
God dang.
They gotta get
I'm
ready.
glad I met you today.
But, I mean, that's kind of what some people need is that big kick in the ass because if he's not going to slack up here, once he gets out in industry, they're not going to slack.
In industry, yeah, but then what's it do to his numbers for completion? I mean, you got somebody that does that 3 times a semester. You got 3 zeros. That's 30 points gone. And
sure, but right now where we sit in the nature of the way I run, right now to my completion, I'm 100% certified, 100% placement. Every employer that I talk to, my students come in more prepared. Beyond the welding stuff, the showing up on time.
Their soft skills and everything.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing in
that
nowadays.
right there is like beyond admirable. You have got to be.
And there's a grace period. Like I have a student right now, I could point him out. He has fallen in that pitfall. He is not doing well. He sees how he can do well, and he's busting his ass to get to that point now.
Good.
And he's getting rewarded for it. Like he won't fail out of here, but he saw that he could have if he kept going down that path.
Mm.
My first semester of formal teaching was in a night class setting at a vocational, the one that I graduated from, and I learned real quick. I have people that their wives are dropping them off, their girlfriends are picking them up, and he wants to pass the class. I don't want to have anything to do with that. So get your laughing out of the way. You think it's funny. So I immediately turned it off onto a point system.
Yeah.
Just full 10 points if you show up on time and you do the right thing. That's what's available to you. The rest of it is based on the quality of your work.
Sure.
So here's the deal. If you don't show up on time, it's now 8 points you can work for. It's still based on the quality of your work.
Right.
Well, let's do the math on that. Right. And if you don't show up, period, it's a 0. Take that into consideration, and you really can't make it up. I'm full in the morning, full in the afternoon. When are you going to make it up? And you're supposed to be somewhere else, Anyway, you show up late, and let's say that you weld to an 80 percentile of 8 out of 10 as far as and that's scalable, and everybody knows what that is.
Yeah,
You're looking at
just
that, you know what a good weld is. Straight, uniform, no undercut, all the other stuff. Perfect weld, 10. 10. It's 10. Anyway, do we weld to those? Anyway, do the 8 points, and then times 8 times 0.8 because that's about where you're at.
64.
And then where you're at, you're in the D range. Let's take it the other way. You can be a rock star on Monday and Wednesday in the lab. You get 10 out of 10, and then you decide to sleep in on Friday. You went to study hall the night before. You got the brown bottle flu, and you sleep in on Friday. You just collected a 0. What is your grade for the week? 20 divided by 30 gives you a 0.66. You got a D.
Right.
See, I hated to see people do that, but that's the route they would take.
Right.
And I guess they were comfortable with that. I hated it, but here's the other thing. It took everything away from me and all on them. Mm-hmm. I never had a grade appeal in all the classes I've ever taught since the dirt floors all the way up to just this past semester.
Because that's what they earned. I mean, you're not giving them a grade. That's what they earned. Yeah.
And I tried to keep telling them. I told stories like, half of you could fail. I'd still make the same amount of money. Right. That is not an unethical. That is not a crappy story. That is something to encourage them. Right. And I had some administrators try to turn that around like I was saying something wrong. Gee whiz, that happens in every English class, in every math class, every physics class, everywhere around the world. If you flunk, I still make the same amount. I don't want you to flunk. I'm trying to motivate you to not, have all the absences and collect all the zeros.
What do you look at when you have a tenured professor at, a university? They literally don't. It doesn't matter if their whole class fails.
No. I don't know how they grade. I mean, I sat in on psych classes at University of Oklahoma with Fouts. There's 150 people in an auditorium, or let's take an English class or something. There's 150 people in there. You're a number. They don't know your name. They don't know you. How do you get a grade?
So I sat in a graduate class at MIT, and the first day, the professor's
humble brag.
Name drop. I was not there for any. I wasn't getting credit.
Minnesota Institute of Technical.
Yes,
okay.
Minnesota. Manatee Technical.
Manatee Institute.
But he literally started the day off. He's like, I don't believe in formal education. He's like, at the end of this, you're gonna have to write a paper. If you don't want to write a paper, you can do this. If you don't want to do that, just come talk to me. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I struggled through grade school, and now you're at
See, I've had people that take a test and they just bomb it.
Yeah.
I mean, horribly bomb it. But I'm out working in the shop with them. I know they know the material. And I'll verbally, they don't know I'm giving them the test. We're out working in the shop together. They have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm talking to them and I'm asking all the questions that are pretty much on the test, the important ones, and they're answering them. And I'm going, well, he didn't flunk it. I mean, he just doesn't like taking tests. Everybody learns different.
I had a
student
just
like formal
like
education
that.
has no, they just want to see black and white.
Right.
They don't, I don't know, they don't take into consideration the other factors, Mm-hmm. They say they do, but I'm guarantee you they don't.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders. Have y'all seen the new Hatchet 60? It's a badass little plasma cutter that packs a hell of a punch. It runs off 120 or 230, so it's perfect for the home shop. Stop messing around with oxy-fuel, cut-off wheels, and sawzalls, and put the power of plasma in your hands with the Hatchet 60. Get yours today at everlastwelders.com. And be sure to use code word ARCJunkies in the comment section at checkout if you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal and get that free Nova foot pedal and TIG torch upgrade. We're also brought to you by Strong Hand Tools. Welding instructors, stop what you're doing right now and go to stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies and sign up for the education discount program and get some free tools for your school. Yes, I said free tools. If you're teaching any sort of fabrication in your program, you know as well as I do, you need tools for fit up, and Strong Hand is here to help. That's stronghandtools.com/ArcJunkies. We're also brought to you by O2 Armor. I was just using my O2 Armor last week while prepping out some weld samples to do some macro etching. I spent all day grinding, sanding, and polishing while wearing my O2 Armor. And guess what? At the end of the day, no black boogers. That's because I blocked out all the grinding and sanding dust with my O2 Armor. I can't wear a respirator because of my facial hair, so I block out particulates and dust with O2 Armor. Get yours today at o2armor.com and save 10% when you use ArcJunkies10 at checkout. Now let's get back into the show.
I had a kid one year, and we do like Monday we learn new material, Thursday we would test on it, and then typically we'd be out in the shop the rest of the time doing hands-on practical stuff. So most of my
everybody
stuff
wants to be in the shop.
Yeah, but I mean I would have a practical grade, but then we would also have like a written exam, and their score was based off of a combination between the two. But I had this one student, like, he was probably one of the best welders in class, fitters, fabricators, whatever. And we're a couple weeks into this program, and like he's kind of leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. And I'm looking at his test scores, and I'm like, dude, how the hell are you getting 20s and 30s on these tests? And I was like, there's no freaking way. Same thing, like Bob, I'm asking him a couple questions, he's answering them. I said, walked in there one day, I said, come here. We walked back to the class, or walked back to my office, and I whipped out I pulled out the exam. And so as I'm sitting there with the exam, I went through question 1, 2, 3, and just like literally asked him the question, and then gave him 5 possible chances of the answer. And like he would get every one of them right. He got like a 96.
Wow, that's crazy.
Stand by, we're having technical issues. Was that a record scratch, Bob?
What are we tapping into somebody else's TV screen or something? My dad used to do that. My dad was a ham radio operator, and just to hack the neighbors off, he'd key in on stuff, and it would
piss off the neighbors.
Well, their Irish setter barked all night.
Oh, so you were telling me about that.
Yeah, we used to do that all the time. It was hilarious. I used to call them, and I'd let it ring until they answered. It might ring 50 times. I don't care. They're going to answer. And I'd quietly say, your dog's barking, and hang up on them. But, man, when my dad... Just to get back at him, my dad would start keying in on stuff, turn that frequency down where it matched that.
Brian, did you just escort a blind man out into the shop?
I'm not sure what happened.
Is that your inspector you hired for the...
Well, that's how I have 100%
That's what I was going to say. He's got 100% certification rate.
He was carrying a keyboard, wasn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what he is.
The freaking inspector came in with a damn cane and a CNI dog.
But
smell porosity.
I was hiring for my counterpart's position, and I had a guy tell me, and I know there's truth to this. He is up there in age. He told me that he could hear if welding was going good. I'm like, well, how do you do that on DC TIG? He's like, well, I can hear it.
You can hear? No, I mean, I would give him that in gas metal arc welding and then shielded metal arc welding, but not TIG.
No,
not DC negative. No.
But besides that point, so that rubric I grade 2. Are we back on?
Yeah.
Rubric,
we've been on.
I got you.
Never stopped.
That rubric we grade 2 has been fluid. When I started, I made a rubric that I thought would work, and everyone, even my worst student, had like a high A. And it's been, since I've been here, we've been navigating it, and it's always going to be a work in progress to accurately capture what effort
it's
they're putting.
got
It's always hard to find the right instrument that fits everybody, and what may fit you guys down here in Florida may not fit me wherever I'm at. And
Sure.
well, I'm not anywhere anymore, so I guess it would fit.
Yeah, come on down. That's one thing. Like all the documents, pretty much 90% of the documents that I ever made for my class, they were all living documents.
Hold on. Bob just said he retired and came to Florida.
He did.
I'm
He's just
visiting.
not. He's just visiting.
Let me come down here and meet you, man. Come on. You're a bucket list guy.
Hell yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, that's a crappy bucket.
You know, I was gonna say, but what's the rest of the check?
I didn't say
check
which
mail.
bucket.
Yeah.
I
Check
didn't
the
say
mail.
which bucket. They're all labeled
Meet
different.
Brian.
That's the chum bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like all your documents, they've got to be like living documents. You got to go back, like at the end of every class, you should go back in and say, okay, what worked, what didn't work, what can I change, how can I make this better? And you go back through and say, okay, this rubric is kind of shit because like here's one thing that happened that I didn't see, and then I could have deducted points for, or I could have awarded points for. So I need to add that back in there.
Sure.
Or pretty much anything, you want to be able to move that stuff around. So like every time I create documents. And I tell my students to do the same thing when they're creating a resume. You create one in a Word document, and then once you're satisfied that with you lock it in a PDF. Now when I have to go back and edit it, I just go back and edit the Word document, delete the previous PDF, and then create a new PDF. So I always have one working document that I can always update, and then one printable version with that PDF.
Right.
That way all my other instructors, when we print it off, boom, they're printing off, like what I put together.
Docs work. They're living all the time. I mean, they're dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Docs. I was teaching a class with Frank Cox in Rolla, Missouri, and we came up with all these headings. I was doing some subheadings, and man, it kind of got funny there for a little bit because like adjustments and settings, and the subtitle was like know your knobs and whistles and whatnot. I mean, he came up with some really funny ones like check yourself before you mess yourself or something for safety. But I had my iPad out. And we were actually filming. I'm using it kind of as a teleprompter because he's over there typing and adding to it. He's adding subsections in there, maybe a tool item or something that we were going through. And it's for him and his group of smoker builders, so it's all cool. How we all like to eat, barbecue and whatnot. We talked about that last night. But we're teaching people how to weld and build and fabricate their own smokers. And he's selling plans and stuff, so it's kind of a beautiful thing. There's no grade, by the way, but we just adding to it for docs. I'm thinking I wish I would have had that when I was teaching,
Sure.
I'm hacked off at my mom. I was born in the wrong decade. I'm always a little bit too late on everything.
Born with a freaking typewriter in his hand.
I mean, I took drafting, and it was manual drafting. Had to manually do all your piping ISOs.
So I was
Wait a
born
minute, I
in
just
82.
said piping ISOs. That should perk up some interest.
Perked his ears up.
Yeah.
I was born in 82 and had to do mechanical drafting by hand in high school and in college.
And then right after that, what came along?
CAD.
So
that was the funny thing is I'm learning mechanical in one class, and like literally, like 2 days later in a different class, I'm doing the CAD version. Yeah. So I mean, it was kind of nice to marry those two up to where you're learning manual and CAD at the same time.
I had to do my own cutoffs and allowable takeoffs and everything, and then. The year I graduated, I'm out in Oregon, works as a millwright, going to Oregon Tech, and here comes this guy down from Boeing, and he's got this fuselage, and he's turning this wing and looking at it, and then punches a button, and the whole material list comes out. I'm going, I'm pissed now.
Yeah.
Every dimension, everything is already automatically done via the computer. I'm going, I'm pissed.
Oh, they've got it now with what the hell is it? The Google or no, the big one, SketchUp or something like that.
That's thing coming to me, but go ahead.
Yeah, it'll pop up here in a second. It's got a McMaster car catalog built into it.
Oh, there you go.
So like you can select what hardware you want in there, and then it gives you the freaking part number and everything.
Oh, stop it.
So they can do like Fusion.
Fusion 360.
Fusion.
That's the one.
I can do 2D designs in it. Okay, like I can struggle through them. But the people that use it, they can make a mechanical part and then calculate like.
Stresses and loads and
thermal wear and say it's a door on a house, they can open it up, actuate it.
Yeah.
And I'm over there on like a couple lines. And
we had this software when I was taking my construction management classes, and it would tell you like the best direction to build a house based off of the annual sunlight calculation over the past like 10 to 15 years. It would say this is the best way to orient the house so that you get the best like solar exposure and also be able to keep the house cool, to minimum efficiency. I was like, holy shit.
Here's where it comes down to, boys. I'm telling you, I'm at the age I don't need another account. I don't need another password. We got so many cool apps and so many things going on with the computerized world. I want to stick around and watch it. I want to see somebody utilize all this stuff, and I think it's cool, but. Somehow it's like, God dang it, here's something else that I need to apply for. Here's something else I need to get an account for.
Yeah.
All
That's
these
the biggest
accounts,
pain in the
you know,
ass.
that's
Like I switched over to, I got that NordVPN.
Oh, yeah.
After hearing about it on the Alex Steele, he's always, promoting NordVPN. Yeah. So I finally checked into this NordVPN because of all the traveling I do and stuff.
Right.
I want to make sure all my stuff's secure, but it comes with like Nord password. So you can upload all your usernames and passwords to every single account, and it holds everything, and it'll pop up and give you dings or whatever if any account's been breached. But yeah, it encrypts all your stuff. But if any of your accounts get breached or anything like that, you automatically get notified.
Well, I breached my own accounts, and then forget I breached my own account. You know?
And then you get nervous. I've done that before. I'll do spend your card somewhere, and be like, I don't remember making that purchase, and you're like. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that was last Tuesday about 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good here. Somebody's hacking my account.
My problem is I bought something from Edge Cups the other day, and my wife's like, what'd you buy for $160? I'm like, nothing. Someone stole my account, my card.
Somebody stole my card. Nothing. It wasn't me.
Just blame it on me. It's that freaking Bob, man.
But I let Bob have my card for a day. He said he was going to get lunch.
I fall asleep in my recliner. I get up, and I've got 100 screenshots of some crap on here. I'm going, you got to stick around. I'm going.
Screenshots in the background.
I say, who's that? Damn, that's impressive. It ain't funny.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think we're headed that way, man.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny now.
I'm laughing because I went home after work yesterday and fell asleep on my chair, and my kids were climbing on me. My wife took a picture of my kids on me. I didn't know they were.
Don't remember any of it. Yeah. That's some of the best naps I've ever had. Is like right after class, like get home, stretch out for a quick 20.
Yeah.
It turns into an hour.
Yeah.
Hour and 20.
Yeah.
Get up, you got drool hanging off of your chin.
That's how you know you're sleeping hard.
That's a power snooze right there.
That's the good stuff right there.
God, here's another video, a little deal I called you out on there. Like by Bingo Welding. Always got to sing his last name,
Logaglio.
Well, I hadn't even met him, but he still reminded me of like a paparazzi type, the baritone. But I didn't want to mispronounce his name. I always thought that. Come on in here.
Yeah, the police are here.
Are you behaving today? You better. Well,
hey, can we borrow your gun?
Can we borrow your gun?
Yeah.
I hit him now.
Your taser. How about the taser?
I hit him now every day to see one day.
You got to test him.
He's just going to be like, yeah, go ahead.
You got to talk him into doing a desk pop.
Desk pop.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that movie, The Other Guys?
Yeah.
Got to do a desk pop.
Anyway.
End of the movie, he's got a wooden gun. Where the hell were we? Squirrel. See, it's the same thing because like Bob's got it too. Bob's got the ADD.
Does he?
Oh yeah.
I got interrupted. I got right back on the subject I was talking to before the sheriff showed up.
Yeah. Well.
Now I'm nervous. I don't think he might be here to serve me papers.
Well, he has a drug dog with him somewhere.
Yeah.
It's on the golf cart.
Yeah. No. Everybody. I have a certain individual that wants me to mispronounce his name, and I just absolutely will not do it unless I'm under the influence of tequila or something. I'm not going to mispronounce his name.
Logaglio?
I don't know who would do that.
I don't know.
Well, it's probably Todd Klauser, but
no, and a gingered beard guy with a podcast.
It's you.
Yeah.
He dabbles. He dabbles.
This is the guy here.
I dabble in mispronouncing his name intentionally. Well, because I want to say the first video that we did together, I was like, hey, this is Brian Logaglio, and he's like, Logaglio, and I was like, yo, Brian Logaglio. I was like, Logaglio.
He tried to say it right,
and I'm virtually certain.
Now I get it. All right. So
now,
this started because you were dogging on him, and it's your fault already.
So
again.
now I do it intentionally because I know I pronounce it right, and he's always like, no, it's
Thank you very
Logaglio.
much. You dogged yourself out.
Yeah,
now I am going to mispronounce your name.
Shot yourself in the foot. Didn't even have to borrow the sheriff's gun.
Yeah. Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, but one day I can borrow that gun from him.
One day. He's gonna have a case of the fuckets. He's like, you know what? Yeah, here you go. I'm done.
I just keep trying to make that like that question so normal that one day it's like asking to borrow a pen.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh yeah, But he's sharp.
Try to catch him while he's on the cell phone. Like I've heard, like if you walk up to somebody throwing their cell phone, like you can literally hand them anything and they'll take it. It's just like a reflex. So like try and hit him up while he's on the cell phone. Like while he's in the middle of a call, be like, hey, can I borrow your gun real quick?
Yeah. That's out. Real quick.
You guys got an advisory meeting you need to attend, right?
Yeah, I think we're getting ready to pop off to that,
Well,
and then you
that's
got to scoot out and do some
drive
videos.
2 hours to come over and support this gentleman, even though you can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, Logaglio.
Advisory committees are highly important, and nobody wants to do them anymore.
It's
I feel
hard.
it's an honor to be on them, because that shapes and it helps you advise what equipment, what industry is doing and whatnot. I think they're highly beneficial, and nobody wants to do them anymore.
No, they're great. And actually, the funny story, like we did an episode prior to his advisory board, a couple weeks ago. And then
how many do you have?
So well, hold on. Here's the story. So we recorded the episode a couple weeks in advance because I was getting ready to go to Texas to do some stuff. Well, by the time I got home, my schedule changed, and I had to call him up the night before and be like, "Hey, man, I can't make it to your advisory board meeting, even though the podcast came out today." It was like, "Yeah, I'm going to be at your advisory board." So luckily, a lot of the other people couldn't make it either. So this was kind of like a makeup day.
Very lucky.
So yeah, so it worked out. So I was still able to make the advisory board meeting and stuff. But yeah, it's super beneficial. For me, because I get to see, meet new students, interact with them, stay in touch. Kind of help Brian, with anything that I, see fit that, he might want to incorporate into his program. A lot of times because of the traveling I get to do, the different work that I get to work with different manufacturers and stuff like that. I can bring that information back to Brian.
Yeah, you bring that back to
like,
him, not only from local, but nationwide.
Well, that's like the same thing with Pulse, because I know he wasn't too familiar with Pulse a while back with Pulse MIG welding, and he's like, hey, I want to check that out. So I was able to, when I went up to Lincoln, I got more information, like Pulse, STT, all that stuff. So I can bring that information back and say, hey, here's what I learned while I was up there. Let's go ahead and run some plates or, dial something in, or this is something. And now he can share that information with his students. So I find it a lot of fun.
You and I, when I interviewed you in Orlando at Valencia in December of 2018.
2018, yeah.
Was it, 2018. It rained like a
2019.
Rained like a no.
Yeah, 2018.
Rained like a cowpin on flat rock driving over there. I kept saying, "Well, I hope this guy's worth it." Anyway, one of the first things you showed us.
Was he wrong?
one of the first things you showed us, you and I worked on, was we worked on sub-arc that day, but one of the first things was the STT program.
Yeah. We did some STT, Rapid Arc, Rapid X.
Yeah. And then, Miller calls it something a little bit different.
Yeah. RMD.
Yeah, RMD and some of those. That's good stuff, gentlemen.
So the cool thing is, while I was hanging out in Texas, I met one of the ladies that helped develop RMD.
Really?
Yeah, so I'm going to have her on the podcast here shortly and talk about, how they kind of developed that, because that technology had been out there, but how did Miller take it, refine it, and make it their own? What separates that from, other companies, versions of the something similar but different?
I remember going out to Utah for WeldEd, the educators conferences, and the week was pretty much spent at Weber University, not Weber University, and it was all brand new Miller. It's all brand new Miller in that shop. No, I take that back. I'm getting confused either with one or the other. But one day they took us up to Davis Applied Tech Center in Kaysville, I think it was. And that had all brand new Lincoln in it. That was a solution center. That started me clicking. I want to turn one of our facilities into a solution center. Specs on everything. Tap into R&D. Filler wire, consumables, the whole 9 yards. Well, what they did was they set us up all these scenarios, and they wanted us to. It's like forcing you to use the program within the program of the machine and whatnot. And one of them was running the root pass with the STT or whatever, and versus TIG. And I was still kind of really good at doing those TIG roots with both hands, and so it was a time thing. And I let the rest of our team. I set this machine up. That was one thing. You had to set it all up. However it was, they wanted you to take it apart, set it all up for this process, this program, and all that stuff. Prep the material, weld it. Anyway, I let all that happen, but then I changed it back. The guy was walking by right when I started doing this TIG route. And I blew one in there with both hands, and he goes, "God damn, that's fast." I still remember how, man. I've done a few of these,
Yeah.
It was, but learning a lot on all those programs, and they're extremely beneficial for. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and that's what's changed in my day, and surely one of you anyway. It's not the high-speed electronics. It's what's changed this industry. It's what we do with the arc to drive filler metal into the parent metal efficiency.
Right.
Efficiently, I mean,
how can we put more weld metal in
faster? The codes
faster?
have changed a little bit. Oxygen is still oxygen. Argon, nickel, vanadium, everything's still kind of the same as far as elements, but it's what we do with high-speed electronics. That's where the changes have been in my lifetime anyway.
And
they put concrete on the floor instead of dirt.
That's always a plus.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, they went concrete, crush and run. or dirt.
Well, I think
crusher oven.
back. I mean, even before dirt, they had the hay and the straw and all that in front of it.
In the welding shop.
Yeah, Bob's first welding shop.
I'm
It
out
was
of
right
here. You
next
guys
to
are
the
telling old jokes. I'm out.
right next to the stables.
But what was always frustrating with me, and I know we need to probably wrap this up, but how slow my trade in particular moved to accept new technology. And then all of a sudden it was just like a click. Okay, we're doing this now. Like it wasn't like a gradual integration. It was probably 2 years of like heavy training by big companies to get people STT, RMD, ready to go.
Schools don't necessarily have money for that.
Right.
There was a bunch of them running around in my area that they didn't have TIG, and the instructors had no training on TIG and stuff. So there's a lot to education. I thought this was great.
No, it was a lot of fun.
We talked about some cool issues, and I got to meet this gentleman over here.
Well, it was a
How do you
pleasure
pronounce
meeting
his
you.
name again?
Well, Brian Logaglio, Legacio,
That was very aggressive.
Legaglio.
Are we supposed to be at dinner tonight?
We're doing dinner tonight. Yes.
Yeah.
4 of us, 3 of us.
However many show up.
Well, I hope the 4th one shows up because he's buying.
Well, yeah, hopefully, ideally.
I
Hopefully
don't
he
know.
made the
I don't know if
reservation.
he's buying, but he has the card of the company that will buy it for him.
There we
There
go.
we
Hopefully
go.
he's got the reservation.
All right.
I think
All
he
right.
just texted us
The mill, huh?
reservation. Yeah.
Heard that place was pricey. That's
It's
good.
pretty damn good food.
Yeah, that's what I hear. All right, well.
All right,
right, guys.
gents,
Hope to see you this evening. I'll bring my Monte Cristo.
Yeah, it's good seeing y'all again.
All right,
Thank
take
you,
care.
guys.
Deuces.
Well, that about does it for this week's episode. Don't forget to tune in this Wednesday for an all-new episode of Weld Wednesday with AWS. Thanks once again for listening. Hope you all have a great week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.